According to MIC, Motorcycle Industry Council Incorporated, in Irvine, California, the motorcycle industry generated $25.6 billion in 2005. 9.8 billion, or 38.3%, was new bike sales. The rest was from accessories, service, insurance, salaries, advertisement, registrations, taxes, etc. You can see in their breakdown sheet that California is the only state that has sold more than 100,000 bikes. 166,280 bikes. That makes $3 billion. No other state even comes close.
Wow, 166,000 bikes.
Yeah, but did you know that 70% are over 30 years old?
Really? But did you know more than half have a college degree?
But did you know that 2/3 make more than 50,000 bucks a year?
Really? But did you know that more than half are married?
But did you know that almost half own more than one bike?
Really? So the young rebel on a motorcycle is not true anymore?
Not really. Today we have grown-ups that are well educated and pretty well off to do that ride the bikes.
Maybe that's why new bike sales has tripled in the last 10 years.
That's right.
A lot of female riders nowadays.
Yeah, but did you know there are 3 times as many new female riders as new guy riders?
Why should you guys have all the fun?
According to the National Association of Professional Standards in Industry, they claim that if every person in the US would take a motorcycle instead of a car every 10th trip they make, we would save 4 billion gallons of gas per year.
4 billion gallons? How much is that?
Well, let's see. That would be 3,000 tanker ships the size of Exxon Valdez.
Wow. We gotta go and check out these stores.
All right.
Let's ride.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the Harley phenomena.
Okay.
What's your take on that?
The Harley phenomenon, there's something that Harley Davidson does to an individual when he gets on and rides it. Unlike any other motorcycle brand, it puts out a certain vibration which almost puts you in a trance, a meditative state, if you will. If you picture yourself cruising up Pacific Coast Highway with just the bike going along the ocean.
What if Harley was made in Korea?
I think that there's a fair amount of patriotism here in the U.S. People that always have been the backbone of Harley Davidson, they lean towards the fact that it's made in the U.S. Absolutely. I think the parts and accessories have become one of the main factors of what Harley is nowadays. I mean, I see women coming into the store buying a motorcycle because they can buy the cute clothes. So yeah, the apparel and the merchandise has become a very big part of the Harley Davidson phenomenon, if you will.
Harley wash, huh? Will this fix my dandruff?
I remember I was just talking to a buddy of mine 20 years ago. We climbed on our motorcycles with whatever we wore, jeans and leather jackets and boots that I wore on a day-to-day basis. Now the current buyer goes and buys a motorcycle, and on top of that spends another $2,000 or $3,000 worth of accessories and apparel. That's different than 20 years ago when I was growing up riding Harleys. Absolutely.
Motorcycle sales have tripled in the US alone in the last 10 years. What do you think about that?
I contribute that to, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been all throughout Europe, I've been through Japan, I've been through a lot of places, and what you notice is fully developed countries, once they run out of space, they go towards motorcycles, towards scooters, towards more compact cars. The US was much bigger, much more spread out, and now certain cities like LA, New York, Florida, which are all the 3 biggest markets, they're out of space. It's filled up, and gas prices have also tripled in the last couple of years. So we got better mileage, we can split lanes, we can do a lot of things like that with motorcycles. We can find a parking spot, which is a big deal. After I went to Japan and I saw the parking lots there were half scooters and half small cars. That's when it started to click in my head that this is the trend and this is where it's going to go. Here I have plenty of people that do it for cool factor, plenty of people that do it because it's the only thing they can afford, and people that are commuting from here to 2 hours away. So I have all the customers, so I see all different kinds of things. I think the thing in general, the growth in general in this area anyway, is because we ran out of space.
Triumph's demographics right now have been lowered due to the 675. There's a huge number of sales from, let's say, 25 to 40, and then 40 and up to the late 50s and 60s. A lot of the guys who have owned Triumphs in the past are coming back to the Twins.
I had a bike like this when I was a teenager. It was a 61 BSA, and it was the same color, and it was painted over chrome.
A lot of guys who were born in the 60s, maybe their dad had one, and they have this need to go back the way it was.
You know, I think we both sort of connect to kind of a different look, a vintage look. I think is pretty cool.
Triumph was very smart to capture that feeling of heritage and bonding with the logo, which is very, very powerful. What we try to do here is point out that they can make some subtle changes to personalize the bike. The bike should represent the way you feel. With very little money, they can do some cosmetic changes. It should be an extension of your personality.
Okay, that was really interesting.
Yeah, but I want to go and talk to some of these riders also.
How about this guy?
Okay, yeah, let's go get him.
Why do I like riding a motorcycle? I think when I swing my leg over the saddle, it gives me a feeling of infinite possibility. I think it's in line with the individualistic kind of exploring mentality that I have right now in my life, actually. Just you and the bike and the road. It's amazing, really. Well, I had thought about some other bikes. I wanted to be practical. You know, I looked at old Honda CBs and I loved how they looked, and I loved old bikes. I like the sound of an old bike. I didn't want something too big either and too clunky. Well, the Triumph, I saw some on the road, and I initially thought they were older bikes. Upon researching them, I realized that they were producing them since around '99 or so. A beautiful old machine that is modernized with modern ignition, modern brakes. It's more comfortable, the suspension is more advanced. It's got the styling that I think is just classically beautiful and timeless. The Triumph really has a connection with California too, with movie stars and just the lifestyle of the 60s and people that moved out to California just basically live the life that they want, live outdoors, explore, do what they want to do. I'm a huge fan of Steve McQueen, and this was Steve McQueen's bike, and The Great Escape, watching that. I can't really buy any other motorcycle after watching that movie.
I eat, breathe, sleep, street bikes.
I realize it's not something that we've just become great riders overnight, and we've still got a long way to go before we're really up there and maybe even race status. I'm definitely loving the feel, and honestly, like he even said it too, we eat, sleep, and live street bikes, and there's nothing like it. It's the ultimate natural high for us.
Since I sat on one, it's changed my life. It's a new lifestyle now. Whether you're on the bike or you're not on the bike, you're thinking bikes. Once I sat on the bike, I just wanted to get on it every day and get a little bit faster, a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable. and it's a never-ending learning process.
So we've been pretty much, listening to a lot of tips from old timers, reading some books and stuff, and listening up, watching, different track videos and AMA and MotoGP, and kind of seeing how these guys are positioned on the bikes. And before you know it, you take some of that, what you've been learning or reading or watching, to the street, and before you know it, you start applying it. And there you go, that knee hits the ground and you're doing turns at 90, 100 plus.
Typical practice day, we'll go out, make sure our tires get warmed up. I'd like to hit some roads that we definitely both know very well, so we can go out there and kind of go back and forth until we feel comfortable, and then we can hit them a little harder. I started out with my goal in mind being to go fast, being to drag my knees and do what everyone else was doing. And once I got to the point where I could do it, I realized that wasn't what was important. What was important was just riding, just being out there on the bike day in, day out. That's what's important to me, whether I'm going fast or slow. I just really want to be out there on the bike.
So today we're here with Bill Conti, a composer, and we want to talk to him about why he rides a motorcycle.
You know, I rode a Vespa in high school. Now let's go many years past. I'm 49 years old, and a friend says, I see his motorcycle, and he says, why don't you take it around the block? Mm-hmm. And I go, yeah, because I say yeah to just about anything, right? I go around the block, and I say, I got to own one. I got to ride again. The Vespa was a way of getting to school. There was no real ride experience. So, I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so it's compulsory to buy a Harley Davidson. You must at least own one Harley Davidson. So I did. I bought this guy. And immediately, we became, this friend and I, long riders, meaning we didn't go to the coffee shops. We didn't go right there. The first thing we did was we went to San Francisco. I've been through Canada. I've been through across this country. So a normal ride for us would be on a Friday to go up to San Francisco and not try to use any freeways. There's 1,000 little bitty roads, and what you get is this freedom. It's exaggerated to say freedom in the sense of riding a horse, but sort of. You're smelling everything. You have complete control of your destiny. When it's easy, it's nice and actually aesthetic. You have a feeling of awe. Now, that which is the ultimate aesthetic, it's not how does it feel. No, it's not about feel. It's a sunset. You go, ooh, there are absolutely no words. So when you're riding and you're outside and the sun is just perfect and you get this aesthetic experience. James Joyce talks about this, not kinetic. There's nothing about it. It's just ooh. There are absolutely no words. So riding a motorcycle gives you this. So if I jump on the bike, it's why I'm not looking to put my life in danger. I might not even looking to go from A to B, which of course it's a mode of transportation. You get yourself out of town, going anywhere, it just doesn't matter. And there you are, the road, the smell, the noise, and the people that love it will love it for that reason. Leaving Los Angeles on Pacific Coast Highway, and it runs up the entire continent. So you leave California by going up Route 1, then you pass into Oregon, then you pass into Washington. Then my friend and I, just two bikes, we went into a ferry that took us to Vancouver Island, and took another ferry out of Nanano to go to Vancouver in Canada. Pouring rain. This was in September, and we wanted to do it in August, but here we are in September in the rain in Canada. And we went all the way up to Jasper. Now, Jasper is the national park. It's the Canadian Rockies. 2 bikes, crazy people just riding and looking for that experience of riding. I mean, why else would you be in the rain, a perfectly grown man in his 60s, getting soaking wet and enjoying it, and just really thinking this is about the coolest thing that could happen. So we come down from Lake Louise, Banff, and we're going into Calgary, and it is snowing. It's really snowing, and we're thinking, well, you know, we're supposed to go back through Montana, Utah, but the weather has changed. We call the highway patrol to find out that no, Montana is actually closed. There's a blizzard. You can't go in there. So we look for a store. This is 2 people in the snow from Los Angeles, and we see a Harley-Davidson sign. Oh, great. Now we go in there. Here are guys covered in tattoos. My brethren, right? Great guys, bike guys. Hey, do you guys know Bartell's in Los Angeles? Oh, yeah, we know Bartell's. Would you ship these 2 bikes to Los Angeles and give us a ride to the airport, please? Oh, sure. Okay, we'll box them up and we'll ship them to Bartell's. Now, here's a friend of mine that's a movie producer. We're on the plane leaving Calgary on our way to Los Angeles. And he says, you know, we just left 2 $20,000 bikes in a store with guys covered in tattoos and bones in their noses and in another country. We're actually going back to the United States of America. What do you think? He says, what could go wrong? So a week passes by and the phone rings and it's the guys in Calgary. Hey, we have a buddy coming down to Los Angeles in a pickup truck. Why don't you just throw him on the back of the pickup trucks, save the $800 a bike that would take to box them and send them. The bikes will be fine. You'll get them in 3 days at Bartell's. So we say, fine, throw them back. So the point of this entire story is you leave like $50,000 worth of bikes with another bike guy, and he treats it like his own. Did you know him? I knew no one. Did they know? They knew that we had ridden our bikes from Los Angeles. That's all they needed to know. The bikes arrived. They were funky, well, because of like 10 days of riding in the rain and all. But the story is only about bike people. There is a brotherhood. Even if you ride just to go get a cappuccino, and you got the slickest bike on the road, and there's a guy that you'd never ever talk to, but he has a bike. Well, you got something there. You do share something. And I have so many stories to tell about that sharing, which I won't tell right now. Okay, let's ride.
In 1994, I made a decision that I wanted to restore an old British motorcycle, and I decided on the BSA Golden Flash model because it was a very classic year in design for BSA. It's a very iconic model that was not exported in large quantities to the United States. It takes a lot of time to do a restoration and a lot of money. So one has to be patient, and one needs to have a pocketbook that you can go to again and again. Well, I know virtually every bit on this machine, and I could tell stories about individual parts and pieces. There's a lot of fun stories that go with the restoration of a machine, and you develop a special bond by doing that. And so if I had to do it again, I think I would. It was a worthwhile experience. I started riding motorcycles when I was 16 years old, and it was simply for transportation. It was a cheap way to get around. Gas was just 40 cents a gallon, but I still didn't have a lot of money to spend on gas. So I got a Honda 90, and it got me from home to school and back again and to my job. But at the high school where I went, there were cool guys that had bikes like this BSA 650. They were chased by all the girls, and they did burnouts and wheelies and really showed off and showed their stuff, and I thought, wow, these guys are pretty cool. I want to have a bike like that. But I could barely afford the Honda 90, so this was out of sight for me at the time. A bike like this would cost about $1,200 in the late 1960s, and now it's worth about $7,500, so it's really become quite a good investment for me. But it brings me back to my boyhood and as a youth, feeling all those raging hormones and wanting to get the attention of the girls. This was the thing to have, with the shiny chrome and the candy apple red and the loud exhaust. This is a bike I ride quite a bit these days. It's very original. I've restored it to originality, and I get a lot of attention from it, and so it's sort of like going back to my youth and re-experiencing the excitement of having a great machine like this.
So, what do you want to do tomorrow?
Let's look at some old bikes.
Okay.
Let's ride.